Hi y'all, this is Matt from the Mistake Zone, and I'm here with a list of anime that I'm excited to see during the fall 2022 anime season. Keeping in mind that these are just opinions from either reading the manga or the general feel that the previews are giving me. And to be honest, I'll be the first to admit that my tastes themselves aren't really, good. I tend to gravitate more towards comedies, slice of life, trash isekai, and other degenerate garbage. Also, this is mostly going to be a list about new anime that are having their first season during the fall 2022 anime season. Because I'm surprised at how many heavy hitters are coming back for fall 2022. Mob Psycho's back, My Hero Academia, Spy Family, To Your Eternity, even Bleach is back. And I think that the people who are going to be watching those anime already know that they're going to be watching those anime. But while we're talking about known anime quantities, I want to throw a quick mention out there to the anime original series Mobile Suit Gundam: The Witch from Mercury. This had an OVA come out during the summer season, and the official season is happening during fall 2022. If you like mecha anime, I'm sure you're probably going to be checking this one out. If you watched the OVA, I believe this is going to be following the little girl now that she's grown up. As far as I can remember, this is the first mainline Gundam series to have a female pilot as the main character, which I think is a pretty nice change. And I'm surprised that it's only happening now. The mechs themselves also seem to have a softer, more roundish look in this series, which is nice to see after coming from the more jagged and raw-looking Iron-Blooded Orphan style Gundams. So I'm really interested in seeing how this one does. This next one is purely blind interest for me, because my interest from watching this was originally sparked by the promotional video. I had no idea this series existed before I saw it. This one is The Raven of the Inner Palace. The art style itself being shown off in the trailer is really appealing to me. It has a very old Asian, like Chinese aesthetic to it, which is one that I can really get behind. This is a lot like what I would have expected Thunderbolt Fantasy to look like if it was animated instead of using puppets. Plus the fact that this series is coming from a novel as its source is very intriguing to me because I think that would lead it to having a pretty good story. The general plot, from what I understand, is that the Raven Consort wields a mysterious magical power, and she's able to grant favors to those that visit her. The Emperor visits her, asks her for a favor, and then that's what ends up kicking off the series. I was checking novel updates to see what I should expect from this anime, and to be honest, it looks like it's kind of outside of my normal wheelhouse, but the combination of fantasy and horror and this kind of time period is a very interesting mix to me, and I really hope that this anime pans out. But if I gotta go back to my usual trash tier tastes, you can't have an anime season in the year 2022 without having some trash isekai in there somewhere. So keeping in line with this mysterious power, the Eminence in the Shadow. So coming from the manga, the previews for the show kind of weirded me out, because the anime looks too cool and actiony. Because to be honest, I was expecting something a lot more comedy looking. The show follows our isekai main character, who is actually a piece of garbage. He wants to be super strong, but he wants to always kind of disappear into the background and not have to deal with any of the responsibility portion of being super powerful. So in usual isekai fashion, he himself is actually overpowered, but he as a character decides to hide this from people so that people don't expect anything from him. He ends up lying to a bunch of girls to get them to join his secret organization called Shadow Garden. He then tells them that Shadow Garden is trying to stop an evil cult called the Diabolos cult from destroying the world. He thinks he's lying, but in typical anime fashion, he's actually not. Turns out the Diabolos cult is real, and they are trying to destroy the world. So these girls that he decides to rescue are all secretly fighting and dealing with the Diabolos cult. He thinks they're all just crazy, and he just decides to keep living his life. Until the turning point where he finds out that Diabolos cult is real, and he actually does go try to stop them. Overall, I'm looking forward to this anime. I'm a real fan of the trope where multiple misunderstandings lead to comedic results instead of leading to just a bunch of drama. Kind of like how King's character works in One Punch Man, or basically how all of Angel Densetsu works as a series. This is a Kadokawa property, so the production value looks about as good as any of their other animes. Shield Hero, Tanya, I believe Konosuba is by them as well. If I were to compare this to an existing anime, I think that the shonen comedy style and the OP leader with a bunch of strong subordinates is very comparable to things like That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, or The World's Finest Assassin Gets Reincarnated. So I think that if you liked either of those shows, this one's probably worth checking out. But sticking to isekai, we can go to the other isekai series. I was a sword when I reincarnated. I'm a fan of the slight isekai twist, where the isekai person doesn't come back as a human. So stuff like Slime, Re-Monster, or I'm a Spider are very interesting to me just because I like to see how the person deals with the fact that they are no longer human and how the authors are going to make usually a weak thing kind of OP. So just like the title says, this is a show about a guy who was isekai'd and got turned into a sword. He frees and teams up with the cat girl Fran, who was a slave before he met her, and he imbues her with a bunch of the classic isekai cheat skills, and together, they go on an adventure. Overall, I think the adventure hits the usual isekai beats. The main character learning about the world, joining a guild, people doubting their strength, and then them showing off, stuff like that. And while there is a good action in this anime, I think where this anime really excels is the two main characters. Fran and the sword end up creating a kind of master-pupil or father-daughter relationship over the course of the series. But to be honest, I don't think Fran's gonna stand much of a chance against Anya if we're gonna be comparing daughters across anime. I really hope that the series is received well by the anime community. I think it's worth a watch if you liked things like Demon Lord Retry, or if it's for my daughter, I'd even defeat a Demon Lord. Just because of how the main characters do create that master-pupil or father-daughter relationship, which I think was very strong in both of those other two anime I mentioned. But if we're going to talk about girls growing up, we gotta check My Girl Hitori in Bocchi the Rock. Anyone who listened to the 2019 Mistake Zone knows that me and Jaren are real fans of Hitori Bocchi. And just like in that series, this show follows a girl trying to make friends. But this time it's a lot more focused on a band theme instead of just a general school theme. I think if you're looking for comfy vibes, cute girls doing cute things, and comedy, this is probably the type of anime that you're going to be looking for. It's a light comedy of a girl being awkward and trying to make both music and new friends. With regards to the anime itself though, I'm very interested in seeing how much they're going to incorporate the music side. The manga itself is a 4-koma, so it already has pretty decent comedic bits in it, but this coming from a manga, it hasn't really gotten a chance to show off its musical props. But if you did like anime like Hitori Bocchi, or the comedy styling of Komi Can't Communicate, and this might be a wild comparison, but maybe even K-On!, I think there's a good chance that this anime could be up your alley. Plus, sometimes I don't know how socially awkward you guys are, but for me, some of the panels in this manga really hit hard when I thought about my socially awkward teenage self. But taking a step away from cute girls being awkward and a step towards cute guys being awkward, the next anime that I want to throw out is Play It Cool Guys. Personally speaking, I think that this is the anime that I'm most looking forward to in fall 2022. It's a series that follows a bunch of good-looking, ikemen type guys, and it explores how each of them deal with the gap moe of being super attractive but also clumsy throughout their everyday lives. When I compare the awkwardness in Play It Cool Guys to Bocchi the Rock, I think that Bocchi the Rock is a much more animated extreme of it, while Play It Cool Guys is a much more realistic sort of awkward. Ones where I can actually see myself doing this sort of thing. And I think that adds a lot to Play It Cool Guys' charm. The groundedness of the situations and the way that all of the characters kind of serendipitously come together makes it a very fun series to experience. If the anime follows the same story beats as the manga, I believe first it'll go through a bunch of each of the individual characters and then it'll slowly begin to tie them together. And I'm really looking forward to when they all get tied together because I feel like that's when the character dynamics and comedy bits really intertwine and it makes the series much stronger. I think that if you liked Daily Lives of High School Boys or Wasteful Days of High School Girls, you'll probably be into this anime. If you had a bit more maturity, a bit more realism, and a bit more ikemen to either of those two shows, you'll basically end up with Play It Cool Guys. Or if you just want to look at some nice looking anime guys, this is probably an anime for you too. But if nice looking guys in an awkward setting isn't what you're looking for, maybe Blue Lock and its nice looking guys in a sports setting is going to be more up your alley. The story for Blue Lock itself is basically that our main character gets put into a non-lethal battle royale soccer boot camp, which is trying to create the #1 striker for Japan's national team by cultivating a striker with a huge ego. I think that for any sports anime, it's important to state where on the realism scale it falls, because you can have something that's as realistic as real life sports, or as unrealistic as Prince of Tennis. And I think that it's fair to say that Blue Lock itself lands somewhere between Haikyuu and Kuroko. It's above Haikyuu since Blue Lock's characters are supposed to be among the best of their peers, so their playstyles all have some quirks to them, and it's shown in a kind of superpowery way, but it's not as superpowery as the Generation of Miracles in Kuroko. I'm slightly concerned in how this anime is going to go. The plot itself is pretty normal. It's a tournament arc that leads into another tournament arc that leads into another tournament arc. The characters are all also pretty nicely done. They all have some nice uniqueness between them. But the thing that really concerns me is how the anime is going to handle the art and the pacing. Because I think that those were two of the strongest points coming from the manga. And I think that those two things are also very vulnerable to being messed up when you make the switch from manga to anime. But if it's done well, I think Blue Lock has a very, very good chance to be the next hit sports anime. Personally, when it comes to soccer anime, I'm more a fan of Aoashi compared to Blue Lock, but I think Blue Lock has a much better potential with regards to popping off and becoming the next Kuroko or Haikyuu but soccer, which I think is very beneficial to Blue Lock. And lastly, I think the anime with probably the most hype behind it for fall 2022, Chainsaw Man. There were a bunch of heavy hitter anime that I listed at the top of this video. Mob Psycho, My Hero, that bunch of anime. And I almost feel like Chainsaw Man is already a part of those chunk of heavy hitting anime. Because I feel like for the past 2 years, ever since this anime got announced, it has been one of the most anticipated anime releases. So the general plot for this series is that the main character of this series has the power to turn into the Chainsaw Devil. And in exchange for not being immediately killed, he joins an organization of weirdos who hunt other devils. Of course, the plot will get a lot more complicated as the series goes on, but that is basically how this series starts. If the trailers for this are accurate, this is probably going to be one of the most well-animated series of this season, if not this whole year and all of anime in general. Chainsaw Man itself has received a lot of praise, and I think it deservedly has a lot of hype behind it, and I think that the general anime community is going to be really into it. Plus, with the budget that this has, the action scenes I think are going to look crazy. Like, even if you don't like the anime, I think that everybody is going to at least want to check out how they're going to do the fight scenes in this show. And while I understand that Chainsaw Man is an outlier, I really do hope that studios like MAPPA and UFO Table are going to be pushing the, animation quality bar higher and higher, so that more and more manga have a chance to have this level of animation hype behind them in the future. But yeah, that's basically all the new anime that caught my eye that are coming out during the fall 2022 season. I hope that this video was enjoyable and informative for you. If there's any anime that are dropping that I didn't mention that you think is worth checking out, drop it in the comments below. This channel is really just starting out, so I'm probably definitely going to be reading those comments. And of course, as this channel is starting out, I think I have to say the usual YouTube stuff of please like and subscribe. It really does help the channels grow and get them noticed by that YouTube algorithm. Also, do tell me what you did like and dislike about this video, because I am planning on making more of these in the future. But yeah, thanks for watching. This has been The Mistake Zone, and we're all out of fall 2022 anime suggestions.